Today should be a good day. It really should. It's the day when the Justice Department is ordered to release the Epstein files, the complete, redacted, of course, to protect the survivors, but um, release the Epstein files in a way that can be accessed digitally. And of course, it has happened, sort of. They've released some, and have declared that they're not going to release all of the files at once. They're going to put them out in dribs and drabs, which is not what the law says they're supposed to do. So here we are. And if you've seen any of the interviews with any of the survivors today, um, responding to this, you know the pain that is involved in this ongoing struggle to bring justice for those who were so terribly damaged by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the men who participated in these terrible deeds. In kind of wallowing in this frustration and sadness, it just reminds us of how powerful the patriarchy is. Undoubtedly, there are powerful people who are implicated, if not just mentioned, um, in these files, in these videos. And power does not want to be threatened. And so here we are. We have the patriarchy pushing back again against justice. But we can't let that stop us in our quest to dismantle patriarchy. And it doesn't stop us, those of us who are Christian, doesn't stop us from wanting and trying to dismantle the religious roots of patriarchy, because they're certainly there. The religion of many of those in the current administration is that of it's a Christianity that does not value women or um, encourage women or think of women in a way that is helpful. Even if, I mean, many evangelicals, many Christians would say that they certainly honor women and value women, and that is true. Except that many of them have a way of thinking about men and women as compartmentalism. That is, there are compartments for each sex. Men have man stuff to do, and women have woman stuff to do. And you take that to the extreme and you get the barefoot and pregnant kind of things, or the very current, we don't even want women to vote business. I saw a post on Facebook the other day that somebody asked, I wish I could remember who it was, so I could look it up again. Um, should women be pastors? Should women pastor congregations? And at the time I was reading, I meant to respond to it right away and I didn't, but I did read the comments. And everything from yes, hell yes, to no, absolutely not. The Bible forbids it. Women are not allowed to have authority over men. So you can see the divide that is there. And it's real. And of course, those who say that women cannot be pastors use the Bible to justify that position, as well as justify their position on all women, the women's place as subservient to the man. So we've got to keep working on this. We have to keep doing it. Um, I was listening to Michelle Obama's interview last night, and she was talking, or someone asked, why are you doing this? And she said, for the children. We have to do this for the children. Same thing Nancy Pelosi always says. We have to do this for the children. I think about a young woman, teenager, who was in my confirmation class some years ago now. And I had always said to my students that they could ask any question that they had to ask about the Bible, about church, nothing personal, not 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 gotcha questions, things like that, but serious questions. And they ask a lot of great hard questions sometimes to answer, but great questions. And one young woman raised her hand and said, "How come God is always talked about as a man? That we say God, his, him, that." Um, and I said, "You will never hear me refer to God as he or him or his." And I said, "And for asking that question, you pass right away." No, well, she did pass. Um, but she was right to question that. Why are we always referring to God as he? We got to get, we have to get past this because the words matter. They seep into the brains, and our young people are asking, why do we do this? They know that that's not right. And so we who are still Christian or wondering if we're still Christian or trying to be Christian need to pay attention to what we're putting out there, which version of the scriptures we're reading, which commentaries we're reading. Are they ignoring? Well, things like you might want to check out the Junia project. It's a wonderful website that talks about how to think about the Bible, and it's Junia Project, Junia Project, all lower caps.com. Junia Project, and when you get to their homepage, you will see it says the Bible and the Undoing of Patriarchy. That's that's their goal. So you can get some good information there about how to do this. And here's the reason. Who was Junia? She was an apostle in the early church. You can find her name in Paul's letter to the Romans, the book of Romans, in the 16th chapter. Junia was a woman apostle, as were many women. When we read the letters of Paul and others in the New Testament, there were women who were there. The trouble with Junia, what happened is that even though she had served alongside Paul in ministry, and she actually was considered to be a threat to local authorities, she got imprisoned along with Paul. And Paul wrote about her that she was noted among the apostles. Now, the problem is that the early church thought, well, this can't be a woman. And they put an S at the end of her name, turning it into the masculine form, Junias, Junias. They erased Junia from the Bible. Now, did they do this as a mistake or they do it intentionally? I don't know. I don't know. I guess we could give them the benefit of the doubt, but the problem is that happens all the time. Phoebe, oftentimes in the New Testament, in Romans again, this was someone who worked alongside of Paul, and Paul commended Phoebe. And in earlier translations, she was called a deaconess. Now, in later translations, they softened it up a bit and just said deacon, deacon. Nothing wrong with deacons at all, except the word for deacon in that case is the exact same word used for minister in other places when the person in question was a man. So you see that Bible translators from early times up until today have had a lot of power in how they interpret, misinterpret, affect because of their own thoughts, prejudices, thinking. Um, and we have to know. We have to know what's going on in order to have an effect in our especially in our worship life, in our church life. So thinking about um, how we convey a Christianity to our children, to others, to everyone that is inclusive. Sorry, administration, if you don't like the word, too bad. that is inclusive of everyone, including men, women, everyone along the continuum of gender and sexuality. And we've got to keep, and we have to keep working on it. I'm hoping that more good will come from the release of files. I hope somehow these people will, if not legally obliged to comply, that somehow they'll feel at least some shame of what they're doing. They haven't even talked to the survivors to talk about how this is affecting them. My prayer is that they do find some sense of responsibility and accountability and even shame, and find it in their hearts to release these files and videos and everything else with the protection of the survivors, and that we find a way to support these women who've been suffering for so long, and those who are unnamed, those among us who are victims and survivors of sexual abuse and assault, and that we learn how to treat women and girls like the whole God created human beings that we are. And if they don't get it, then somehow we got to get them out of office, vote them out. I wish election day were tomorrow, but we've got to vote them out, and we've got to take the reins and keep on working toward the abolishment of patriarchy, the worst aspects of patriarchy. So this is Advent. We're in the third week, coming up on the fourth, coming close to Christmas, when we really think about how God, the divine, comes into human existence somehow. And Mary as an example of a woman who participated in bearing that good news into the world, that Christ spirit into the world. So in Advent, we got to keep those candles lit. We got to keep hope alive. I always go back to this wonderful, I should share it, go back to this wonderful quote by Valerie Carr, who is a Sikh um, activist. And she, if you haven't watched her YouTube video, go and watch it, because she is something else. If you want to feel inspired, Valerie Carr, Kaur. It's a Sikh woman. And she says, and here's this wonderful picture of a pregnant woman. In our tears and agony, we hold our children close and confront the truth. The future is dark. But my faith dares me to ask, what if this darkness is not the darkness of the womb? What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but is the darkness of the womb? That's the important part. What if this darkness is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? And what if our America is not dead, but a country still waiting to be born? That's a woman's perspective on things. I'm thankful to Valerie for that. Go check out her talk and other things that she's doing. It's incredible. So for now, we continue in our blessed Advent, and it's the season of hope, the season of hope, radical hope. And we hope today for those who are survivors of this heinous crime that was committed against them, and pray that justice will prevail. That is our prayer. Amen.